So there are many different ways to change the color of something, well, anything in Photoshop, but I'm going to show you 3 different ones that I personally like to use. Before we change the color of anything, though, we're going to want to select what we want to change the color of. Obviously, I want to change the color of the background here, just because it'll be easy to show you how to do that. Now, to select it, I could use the lasso tool here, or any other tool like that. I could use quick selection, magic wand, marquee tool, whatever you prefer. I prefer to use the masking tool here. Edit mask mode and select the paintbrush. Make sure black is selected, and I'm gonna just paint over here, over the things that I don't want selected, which would be her. Alright, now that we have that all done, I'm going to exit the masking tool, and voila! Everything that wasn't her is selected. Now this is a rough selection. Obviously I missed bits of her hair and there's part of the background in here, but just for this demonstration it's going to be good enough. Otherwise I would go in and refine the edges. Actually I am going to change this a little bit more because I missed this part and that's annoying me. Okay, now that we have the background selected, or whatever it is you're selecting, the first way to change the color of something is go to Image, Adjustments, and then Replace Color. And to whatever color you wanted to replace in the object, which would be the background, I'm going to use the eyedropper tool here and select it. And you'll notice that the white part is the bits that I selected. They're the hue that's closest to the color that I selected here in the first place. And the dark bits, the ones that aren't selected. I can add more by going to the plus eyedropper here and just click in some of the other spots so that most of everything is white. Now don't worry if the things that you didn't select are also selected in white. As long as you have selection, it's a lot of select in my words, as long as you have selection selected, it will just change the color of whatever is in the selection, not outside of it. So the other thing is to change the fuzziness. If you lower the fuzziness, you'll notice that less and less is actually selected in your I keep saying selection, I apologize. You up the fuzziness and more gets selected. I'm just gonna click right around in there. And it's fairly simple. Just change the hue. All of a sudden it's blue, and darker blue, purple. And if you know a specific color that you're going for, you can just enter in the value here. You can also change the saturation up and down, lower the lightness, which is the brightness of the background. I'm going to exit out of that. Going to select, deselect. And so it did a pretty good job. Obviously it's not perfect because of my selection, but let's go back now. I'm going to, whoops. Yes. Go back to the selection I had before. And I'm going to show you the second way to change the color of something, which would be go down here to this little half filled in circle. It's the adjustment layer panel. And you're going to go to hue saturation. And this is going to look very familiar to the thing we just saw. It's very similar. It's the exact same hue slider and saturation and lightness. But the cool thing about this one, about this option, is that you have a much finer control over what you're going to select. You can go in specifically to the reds, the blues, magentas, all that stuff, and change that specific hue, which is cool. So it gives it, so if you have more than one color accidentally selected in your selection, yeah, you can just select the exact color. Right. Now I'm going to go back, show you the third option. This one, now you're going to want to go back into the adjustment layer here, the half circle filled in thing. Go black and white. And the reason I like going down here to these selections as opposed to going to image adjustment, which is the exact same thing, this over here is non-destructive. That means you can delete the layer and like so, and everything below it is still there. So any color changes that you made and you're like, I didn't want to do that, you could just go back in and change them or delete the layer and it works fine. So back to the black and white. Whoops. Didn't have my selection tool on there. Black and white. So now you'll see the background is black and white. Why would you want that? Didn't you want to change the color? Yes, you do. And before we do that, I'm going to click on the mask here in the layer that's black and white. Right click on it and go to add mask to selection. It's going to bring the selection back up that we had before. And then we're going to go here to this little page with a little corner bent. Click that. That's a new layer. And so now that we have a new layer, we're going to go to our brush tool, which I already have selected, and then go down to here, swatch tool, the color picker. And this way, you could choose whatever color you wanted to change it to, and you have a lot more control over the exact color of whatever it is than you would with the other two options I showed you before. So if you're looking for a very specific color, enter in the HSL or RGB, CMYK, web code, all that jazz. I'm going to select this color here, hit OK, and I'm just going to increase my brush size, which is up there, and just paint over it. Okay, and you'll notice that that doesn't look very good. You're right, it doesn't. But we'll change that. I'm going to select, deselect, and as long as you have this layer here, the one you just painted on selected, go in here. This is your blending layers tool. It says normal by default. You can click on that, go down to overlay, and voila. Obviously, I didn't do a very good selecting, but if I had a better job selecting, this would just change the background. So that's a third way to change it. And the other thing, you can mess around with different blending layers. I think usually overlay works best in this option. You can also change the opacity of the layer here in case you wanted to be darker. You could also just go back in and repaint over it. Paint over it again to change the color. But that's 3 different ways to change the color in Photoshop, and you could do this with anything. Cars, hair, eyes. I could do that with her eyes specifically or something like that. Anything, literally anything. So I hope this helps, and thanks for watching. Thank you very much for taking the time to watch my video. I hoped it helped you out in some way or another. If it did, go ahead and hit the like button, because that helps me out and lets me know that you actually did enjoy the video and that, I'm doing a good job. And speaking of liking the video, if you did like the video and you want to see more, hit subscribe, and I put out a new video every single week, usually related to photography about 95% of the time, tutorials, reviews, and stuff like that. Also, leave a comment, because I love reading comments. I respond to every single comment, no matter where it is, on YouTube, Twitter, Facebook, email, doesn't matter. You can just tell me if you have any other tips and tricks on how to change the color of things, or just tell me how much you appreciate me helping you with free stuff, or whatever, or just, hey, how's your day? Awesome, great. I promise I will respond. So that'll do it for this. If you want to, you can check out some of the other videos I have, like this one right here. And until the next video, I'll catch you later.